Kyle Williams. So the one guy that I have in the top 10 that you don't have is Emeka Egbuka. I had Egbuka at 5. The one guy that you have in your top 10 that I don't is this guy, Kyle Williams from Washington State, who is on the ascent, Sam. Is he going to be high? If we did this 3 weeks from now, would he be even higher on your list? Kyle Williams, Washington State.
Yeah, I mean, again, I kind of wanted to push him higher in my top 10, but couldn't figure out which guy to drop him or drop for that to happen. We had Mike Renner on the show a couple of shows ago. He has Kyle Williams extremely high. Chris Sims since dropped his wide receiver rankings. He had him at wide receiver 2. And I'm not going to call it crazy because of last time where we thought he was crazy to have Brian Thomas ranked ahead of Marvin Harrison, and that looked pretty good now. But like Kyle Williams he's the best separator, I think, in this class. I would say that's the one, line summation of what he brings to the table. Instant separation, instant quickness, and in all ways, right? The routes at the break, the releases, they're all sick. Watch him at the Senior Bowl. He's operating at like a different speed to anybody trying to cover him. Like every step he makes, it's literally like a completely different speed to these guys. I thought he's got a vertical threat to him as well. He's not just you would comp him to somebody like Tez Johnson from Oregon, who's got that similar quickness, instant, looks like he's operating at a different pace to these other guys. But I think he's got a much more clean vertical profile to his game as well. He ran like a pretty fast 40. I don't have it to hand.
4.4. I think he was 4.4, 4.41.
So it's like, again, it's in the Matthew Golden true range, I think, which is fast enough to run a vertical route, not fast enough to like terrify everybody. Tracks the ball well, doesn't fight it. Very good after the catch, not as shifty as Burden, but so direct and quick and fast, like can avoid a lot of tackles. The thing that kind of kept me from putting him much higher than that is, 5'11", 190, and you can see that relative lack of size on his tape quite a bit. Like he does get bodied a bit, both at the catch point. If there's a decent sized DB against him at the catch point, he's going to struggle a bit. And the separate. So, and during the route. So like the separation he gets is important because if he doesn't get it, it's like an anchor dragging him down. It's like he goes through quicksand on those plays.
Yeah, Williams he's a real interesting prospect. And I think the only reason why I'm not putting him on the 10 in the top 10, because I see everything you're seeing on film. I mean, he is really shifty and slick as a route runner. And the Senior Bowl was eye-popping. I think his work at Washington State this year was eye-popping. I think I'm more leaning on the analytical profile that's questionable. So year 5 breakout for Williams. He was okay in previous years, 3 years at UNLV, and then okay in 2023 at Washington State. Washington State, he essentially played a Mountain West schedule in 4 out of his 5 years here because Washington State was part of the Pac-2 or whatever they were last year, basically playing mostly a Mountain West type of schedule. So that matters a little bit from a production standpoint. So as a year, he's got one really good year in his year 5 season. He had the 14 touchdowns. I mean, spectacular film. So this reminds me a little bit of Xavier Legette, where you're separating, describing the skill set, what you see on film, and then going back and saying, okay, the totality, the body of work historically just doesn't project well at the next level. And that matters a little bit. I'm just going to rehash a conversation that we had last year when that stuff came up. Scott Barrett, who used to work for PFF, brought up the point. He was bringing the point up about Legette. He's like, scouts don't even look at this year 5 breakout stuff. And I was like, yeah, Scott, they don't, right? They're not, their job isn't necessarily to go back and understand analytical profiles. They're just describing the player and writing up a report. And if you did that in a vacuum for Kyle Williams, you would say this is a top 5 receiver in the draft, right? Size, good enough size, good speed, good separator, top 5 player. But so a scout might do that, and Sims and Renner and you, like anybody can do that, and you put them there. But then the decision maker has to add in the other point in the analytical profile and the other pieces, and that's where I think there's a question. Year 5 breakout, competition level. Not that we didn't hold that against Jalen Royals, but that's a little different. It's a point to bring up here. So that'd be my concern on Kyle Williams. I really like the skill set and a lot of what he's done, but it doesn't have the profile for someone that projects highly at the next level. Hey guys, just taking a quick break to tell you, hey, just over 50% of you are still unsubscribed to Check the Mic. It helps the channel. It helps to make sure that you don't miss any of our shows. So if you have a chance, hit the subscribe button right now.
Yeah, and that's, I think those are tricky, trying to figure out, like, okay, there's a historical trend of this not working out versus, like, does that apply to this guy, or why should we not care about it for this guy? I think, and it's reason to be leery, I think, right? Like, I love what this guy's showing me right now, but this does not typically work out. Now, the other thing is, like, I'm always curious because a lot of those are like year 5 breakout, right? And that's, well, what constitutes or what qualifies as the sort of threshold breakout? Because in his second year, he had, 2.2 yards per route run, had 600 plus yards. Like, it's not the 1,000-yard dominant breakout crushing, but it's a pretty good season, statistically. And then it went backwards a little bit. And then last year was by far his best year. So, but like, he's got multiple years.
I'm not even stealing anybody's. I have no idea if the other analytical community likes him, doesn't like him, if they're holding this against him. I don't know what his dominator rating is. I don't know. But I'm just eyeballing it, saying we've had one good year, and it took him till he was probably 22, 23 years old for it to happen. One really good year, and that does stand out to me.
Sure, but my point is, I'm curious how much do you need to see in the previous years before it's like not before it doesn't drag his dominator rating or whatever the statistical models are that kill guys for that 50-year breakout stuff.
I don't know. I'm not running that against him. I'm just saying that's a piece of it. I like a lot of his game. I like his acceleration, smoothness in and out of breaks. He's another guy I don't know if he has the same feel as guys like Ibuka, Bash, some of those guys that we ranked ahead of him, that I ranked ahead of him, have the same feel. I think a lot of his flashes are in the one-on-ones. I don't know if he has the same feel against zone and, the toughness over the middle, but drop rate's gotten better every season. They did manufacture some touches for him out of the backfield, which I think is notable, trying to get the ball to his hands at Washington State. So there's a lot to like about Kyle Williams. I wouldn't put him as high as some others, but he's on the ascent. I think Renner's going to have him. I don't know when Renner drops his final rankings, but he sent me a text today, said might be really high on Kyle Williams. And I get it. If I was looking at the film in isolation, I get it. I think there's parts of the whole body of work that I would be a little concerned about.
I mean, Renner's mad because he thought he would be the highest person on Kyle Williams throughout the process, and then Chris Sims puts him at number 2 in his rankings.
Sims went 2. He goes number 2. Oh, man.
Thanks for watching all the way to the end of our video.
For more great content, click here to subscribe and here to watch another video. We'll see you again soon.